This meeting is being recorded.
All right, we're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the third episode of the podcast. You know, it's been an exciting first two. We took a week off. I think it was for the better. A lot of exciting stuff we can share today. Yeah, and I can't wait.
Yeah, that's right. Really excited to dive into some interesting stuff today. Keep our 17 subscribers happy and coming back for more.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think we can just start with some updates about ourselves. I think the main update for me is that in the past 9 days, I went to Costa Rica. And, I think we're going to talk a lot about that on this podcast. That's my main update. Um, yeah, any updates for you, Ian?
Yeah, the past week I was in Tennessee. That's also what I'll be talking about for most of the podcast. Yeah, that's pretty much the big one for me too.
Perfect. So, sorry, I'm eating my frosted cookie.
It's okay.
Anyways, well, it's very good. Very good. It's chocolate flavored. Um,
Mm.
I'll share some updates about our friends. One is that Nate and Maura are both in Puerto Rico right now. They're about to
Mm.
be in Puerto Rico. So I send my well wishes to them. Hopefully they have a good time and all is safe and all is well. But yeah, I'm excited for them. It's good. They'll have a good spring break there. Um, Additionally, we have an update on the Lorelei situation. Um, so the guy that broke into her house was charged with aggravated criminal trespass, underage consumption of alcohol, possession or transportation of beer, public intoxication, prohibited purchase slash possession of tobacco products by minors, possession and or use of revoked, suspended, forged, altered, or fake driver's license. So yeah, the guy has a lot of charges.
Wow.
Um, yeah, that's the list. I think it's pretty funny, um,
I
to
don't know
say
if
the
I
least.
I don't know if I'd say funny.
I think it's a funny thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it was scary than other, but it's kind of I don't know, it's more crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. Praying for that guy. Hopefully he can find his way back onto the right path.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
And then I think that's all my updates on our friends. Uh,
What's going on with Julian right now? Is he back from Maine?
oh yeah, so Julian is back from Maine. There's a lot of things that's happening, Julian. I cannot disclose, to say the least. Very interesting lifestyle, but overall he's doing well. He's definitely interesting, but he's doing well. He's back from Maine, back on campus, having a good time, as he always does. Um, he's been pretty active in our group chat, saying some interesting things. But you know, he's from what he says, he's actually doing well. I've talked to him a lot. He's doing great. Proud of you, Julian. Keep it up.
We love you, Julian.
Yeah, we love. Yep, we do. Well, not romantically, but like as a friend.
Yeah, platonically.
Yeah, good to clarify that, Ian. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that is all of my updates I have. Unless you have anything else you want to add, Ian.
Nope, nothing else for me.
Okay, so yeah, let's just go straight into our discussion. I think the main bulk of this podcast we're going to be discussing what we did over spring break and kind of how our experiences, what we learned from that, and yeah. So you know, I can kick it off. I was in over this break. I flew to Costa Rica with one of my friends. Shout out Oleg. Um, so we flew into San Jose, which is the capital. Um, and we flew from Richmond to Fort Lauderdale to San Jose, and then we left last Thursday, actually Thursday before that, and we went the same day. We went to La Fortuna, which is a giant volcano, a renal volcano, and then we spent 3 days there, and then we went to Monteverde, which we took a boat to get to, And essentially that's the cloud forest. It has the cloud forest, which is well known in Costa Rica, which is cool. Spent 3 days there, and then we took a bus to the coast, and we went to Manuel Antonio, which is a national park with a beach and like a beach town. Spent like 3, 4 days there. And then we went back to the capital, San Jose, and flew out. And yeah, back. That's my quick summary. Ian, if you want to share your quick summary, if you want.
Yeah, sure. So I did a service trip through Notre Dame. So we have a class called the Appalachia Seminar. And so there are about like 25 kids in the class. We were split into three groups, each of us going to a different location in Appalachia, which is a pretty big region, kind of on the eastern part of the United States, kind of along the Appalachian Mountain Range, but not exactly. So my group, we went to Rutledge, Tennessee. Um, let's see, we left Sunday morning, drove down there. It was about an 8 hour drive. Got there Sunday evening, and we came back yesterday. Left also in the morning. So yeah, I was there all week doing service. Yeah, that's my quick summary. You're muted.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. Yeah, that sounds great, Ian. A lot different experience than me for sure. But it sounds like we both had good times. Um, so do you have any like specific questions for me, Ian, about my trip? Anything you want me to delve more deeply into?
Yeah, I would. I guess the first off the bat is sounds like you had a pretty elaborate plan moving from place to place. I'm responsible. What was the planning like? Who really carried the brunt of that? What did that look like?
I mean, if you look at the last podcast, you would know I'm the planner. I planned everything for the most part. Oleg did a little bit, but for the most part, I planned most of it. Um, the goal was like, do a lot of activities in the beginning of the trip,
Right,
and then we kind of like at the end, we kind of more like just chill at the beach.
right.
Um, so yeah, mostly me, I would say.
Okay. What about you mentioned the cloud forest. I've never heard of that before. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that's like?
Yeah, so essentially, the second place we went to was a cloud forest. And the big town there is Monteverde, and we stayed in the town. Essentially, it's a really small town, and uh, it's right next. It's really in the middle of the woods, and they have a rainforest there, and it's cool. It's odd because we're in La Fortuna, like the volcano. It's only like 10 miles away, but because of the mountains, it's like literally 10 degrees cooler than the volcano. So it's like a cooler, more temperate climate.
Right.
Um, but it's also has a lot of humidity and it's a lot of like a lot of fog, being that like we call it the cloud forest because it looks like you're like walking through clouds while you're in the forest,
Mm,
which is cool. And like one of the main attractions in the forest is like is the there's like a bridge that goes like through the tops of the trees. Um, so yeah, that was cool to walk through. But when we went, there was actually no clouds, which was kind of a little bit disappointing. But yeah, it was really cool. We saw a lot of animals. I actually have a list of animals we saw in there, but yeah, it was a crazy. Saw a lot of mammals, a lot of crazy things that just like randomly appeared. Um, yeah, and then we also went to we did some zip lining there uh in Monteverde through like through the forest, and that was like one of the coolest experiences I think I've ever had. That was definitely probably the highlight of the trip
sounds pretty
for
awesome.
me. Yeah, yeah. Essentially, what we did is there were like 10 zip lines, and like I think 3 or 4 of them were like over a mile long, and that was sick. And you go, how it worked is like there was two mountains, and then the zip line would go through the valley. So it was like you're ridiculously high up, really scary, but it was a lot of fun. And there's a couple ones where like usually you're like upwards, but there was a couple ones where you were inverted, like Superman style. So that was cool. And we also did like like a Tarzan swing type of thing where they drop you and you literally fall like for like 3 seconds and then you swing out like back and
Mm,
forth. That was probably one of the scariest things I think I've ever done, but it was actually awesome. It was great.
sounds like an awesome time.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you asked me a question, I'll ask you a question, Ian. So like what was like the day-to-day like responsibilities? I know you were like building houses and things, but like what did a typical day look like for you?
That's a good question. So I should probably give some context. So we got there and we were staying at this place called Glen Mary. And so they're like a Catholic missionary group. They have locations across the country. And so they were on like the side of this mountain. They had a little compound. They had like a main house and then some tiny houses. And so we stayed in like the main house, our group. There were 8 of us from Notre Dame. And then there were 2, they called them mountain managers. So one of them had been there a year and he kind of ran our day to day, and the other one was in training. And so she's going to be taking over for him. And so they ran our day to day, what we did. And so it was basically, we were split into 2 work groups, and each day we'd go off and we'd do pretty much whatever. So Glen Mary, the organization we were working with, they kind of just go around the area, anywhere from 30 to an hour 15 within that range. And they just help, whether it's with other organizations doing service, or it could be helping people specifically, dropping off food, working on projects at people's houses, really all kinds of stuff that we did. So most days we'd get up, we'd go with our work group, and we'd do work from like 9 to 4. And so in the mornings we'd have breakfast together, and then in the evening we usually would do some other activity that would allow us to engage with the community. We got to do some cool stuff, and then we'd usually just have dinner together at the house, and then every night we would reflect together. So it was a practice that they encouraged us to do, where we would just talk about the day, process things that we had done and seen. Um, yeah, stuff like that. So that was generally what the day to day looked like. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Um, so yeah, that sounds pretty like I don't know, like a rewarding experience. Um, I think it's cool to like have that sort of like being that like you I don't know, I'm sure it was pretty shocking for you to like go in that type of environment. I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that. But, like rural America is a very different scene uh than what I'm used to. So I'm sure that was kind of interesting. I'm sure like even like the like it's just like makes you grateful for like, the things we have, like being that they have a lot less. So I'm sure I don't know if you took that away, but
Yeah, I would say definitely like we lived pretty simply. So one of the first things we did was um, they had us go grocery shopping, but on like a food stamp budget.
mhm.
So we had to put a lot of thought into what we were going to buy for our meals. So that was a cool experience. And then I think one of the interesting ones was they had us do like military showers. So a military shower
Huh.
is like you rinse for like 10 seconds, turn the water off, scrub your body, and then turn the water back on to like rinse yourself off. Um, so I'm not gonna lie, like I actually kind of liked it.
Hmm.
Probably was not necessarily the best to get super clean, but um, yeah, I enjoyed doing that. And then yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. Like definitely makes you think about all the things that you have, but I don't necessarily know that I found myself feeling really bad for anybody during the week. Like everybody that
Yeah.
I met, even if we were helping them with stuff, they were like super happy with the way they lived. They took a lot of pride in showing us their lives and like sharing their stories. Yeah, so it was just cool to like interact with all of them, kind of open myself up to new perspectives, and engage with new people.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think for me, like just seeing, a new culture. Personally, I don't speak Spanish, so going there, and all I didn't speak Spanish either. So no, it was like really a weird experience, but at the same time, it was like cool to see a different culture. And also where we stayed at for most of the time, we kind of stayed with like the locals
Right.
because it was cheaper. But that led to a lot of cool experiences, and like kind of lived more less like tourists and more like actual people living there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Sounds
So
awesome.
yeah, that was a cool experience, and it was like interesting to see how different type of people live versus like my life.
Right. Did you meet anybody like who left a particularly big impact on you who you thought was super interesting?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I think, well, I mean, obviously, we did a lot of tours and things, and we met a lot of like cool individuals throughout those like um tours. Like one of our tour guides, really cool guy. Like I don't know, he was explaining how like he kind of like grew up with nothing, and but like he kind of worked his way up, started his own company, and tourism is a big thing in Costa Rica, and he
Right.
kind of told us the whole story about how he established that. So that was like cool to see, and kind of him sharing a story of like how he was able to like build his own like sort of dream, you know, like I don't know. So that was cool. Also we made a lot of like random friends throughout the whole time, like just other people traveling in Costa Rica. Like we met a surprisingly amount of like Germans there. So like it was kind of funny because actually, I speak German. So
Right.
it's kind of funny. I actually got to use my German. Like one of the tour guides only spoke German and Spanish, so it was like actually useful for once. But it was really weird. We kept seeing the same people over and over again, and we made good friends with like this group of Germans we saw like literally like 3 times, like in different places, like across the country. So that was really funny. Um, Also made fun like friends with like a couple from the Netherlands. We went zip lining, so it was cool. Like to just like after we did zip lining, we sat there for like literally 2 hours and had coffee with them, and like talked about like how their lives are in the Netherlands, and like about politics and just like views on life. And then also, yeah, I think. Oh, and then also like interestingly enough, we actually had to drive back from Orlando back to Richmond with two random strangers. So I learned a lot from them. So that was probably it was cool. Like literally, I learned their whole life stories, which is like really interesting. Went from strangers to like actually knowing someone in like a matter of like 12 hours, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, that was interesting.
Were they also lived in Richmond or they go to Richmond too?
Yeah, no, they live in Richmond. They're around like 10 years older than me. They were like a newly wedded couple. For context, what happened was our first flight in Costa Rica got delayed, so we missed our very tight connecting flight in Orlando. And it was interesting enough, like when we got on the plane, I went up to the flight attendant and I was talking to the flight attendant and saying like how we have a tight connecting flight, and how like if you could like help us get off the flight earlier, that'd be appreciated. And he was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. While I was doing that, they are also going from Orlando to Richmond, and they're on the same flight. So like I kind of started talking with them about that, and it was like, oh yeah, we'll make it, whatever. But then our plane gets deboarded because they're having issues with the radar,
Right.
and uh yeah, so I got off the plane. I was telling them, oh no, we're gonna miss our flight. So I kind of made somewhat friends with them, and then get there, we finally take off, miss our flight. And I leave Oleg, 'cause Oleg's from Ukraine, so he has to go through different customs that take a lot longer. So I go through customs pretty quick and just go to the Spirit. And I was kind of just talking to them, and the Spirit people were not very helpful. They wouldn't give us a hotel, wouldn't give us food vouchers. They said maybe we could rebook you for Saturday night. We were supposed to get home Friday night. They were gonna make us wait 24 hours. And I was like, huh, maybe we should just drive. And they're like, actually, that's a good idea. And I'm only 20, so I can't rent a car, but they're older, so they're like, we're gonna rent a car. Do you want to come? Called my dad. My dad was kind of apprehensive. My mom was really scared for me, to say the least. But yeah, I talked to Oleg, talked to my dad, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go with these people, and we drove throughout the night. Um, yeah, so that was really interesting. What was your question, Ian? I just giving context. I forgot what you asked, actually.
I just asked if they were from Richmond.
Oh yeah, yeah. Short, long story short, yes, they're from Richmond too, and they dropped us off on campus, and they went back to their house. Yeah,
That's awesome.
so yeah, that was very unique, to say the least. A lot of interesting stories from that. But it's just cool, like how like you can go from like random strangers to like actually knowing someone in like such a short amount of time, and it's like an experience I will never forget. Like driving 12 hours back to Richmond from Florida. Anyway, it was cool. We got Chick-fil-A. We stopped at Bucky's. Oh, I got to try Bucky's for the first time at like 4 a.m. Crazy. Bucky's at 4 a.m., by the way, is crazy. Like it's like really bright and there's like a lot of people there oddly. So that was really weird. But yeah, we got back at like 9 a.m. and I had my whole day still. I got no sleep in the car, so it was like really that was kind of bad. Um, but yeah, overall, yeah, that was a crazy experience and something I won't forget. But it was great. I wouldn't do it any other way.
I'm glad to hear that you were able to get home okay.
Thank you, Ian. I appreciate it. Yeah, everything worked out. I from the start of the trip, I was saying something's gonna go wrong. And I got really one of the other things. I got really bad sunburnt on Tuesday at the beach. Like the UV was 12. I put sunscreen on, but I got really, really burnt. I was like, okay, that's probably the worst thing that's gonna happen. No, the worst thing that happened was the missing the flight. But I wouldn't have it any other way. It was a great time. Great, I had a really fun trip.
I was gonna say you look pretty tan.
Yeah, I mean, I went to rugby practice earlier. Everyone was complimenting me on my tan. They're saying I look dark and great. I feel great. One of the things that, like, I honestly feel great. Like one of the things about Costa Rica is that you're in the sun. Sun's great for you. And two, the food is awesome. Like it's just literally just meat, rice, beans, vegetables, and plantains. Plantains are so good. Oh my gosh, I love plantains. But anyways, I ate really clean. Had some of my best like meals ever. Had like literally had like fish and crab and uh calamari and like I don't even know what else, like a bunch of different seafood, shrimp and whatever, and rice and vegetables for like literally like $8. So that was great.
It's awesome.
Um, but yeah, that was great. Probably I definitely love the food there for sure. But yeah, I guess going back to you, Ian. Like I know I said my favorite part was like ziplining in Costa Rica. Do you have a favorite part from your whole trip that you like to share?
Mm. Yeah, I would say my favorite part. I would think just I think overall meeting people. So I can give like a couple of examples of the people that I met.
Yeah.
So let's see, our first day there, I worked in a food pantry all day. That was pretty cool. And then after we got back from that, we went down on the side of the mountain. There's like a little pottery shop where an older couple they've been working there for like 40 years making pottery. So I actually got
Wait,
this
that's
little mug.
sick. Wow.
Yeah, they were awesome. Um, we talked to the husband. He was like showing us how he makes the cups, and he was telling us his life story. Um, his dad was like a mafia lawyer, so like he and his mom
What?
had to go into hiding or something. I don't know. I was honestly getting a little bit confused during the story. But he was really nice. Him and his wife work really hard to make beautiful pottery. Um, let's see. And then one of the couples that we interacted with a lot, they're named Tammy and Dave, and so they live on a farm in a pretty like isolated part in the middle of like this rural Tennessee area. And so they
Yeah,
have like all these animals. So they have goats and lambs. They have like three dogs. So we got to go meet all their animals. They showed us around their house, their farm. Um, and then I went in the woods behind their house and I chopped wood for like 3 hours, and it was awesome.
that's crazy.
It was my first time chopping wood ever, and it
Yeah,
was
is that the photo? Is that the photo you sent me?
it is, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. A good
Yeah.
photo of you.
Yeah, it was a good photo. Um And then let's see. One of the really cool things we got to do was we went to a man's house. His name was Caruso, and we built a ramp for his wife because they had a ramp, but it was in pretty bad shape. So we demolished the ramp they had, and then we put in a new ramp and built it. And he was super nice. He was a military veteran. He's lived all over the world. Yeah, he had a lot of stories to share, and he told us them while we were building the ramp for him. So it was a pretty cool experience. Um, and then I would say honestly, probably my like the individual moment that was my favorite experience of the week was probably my last night there. Um, it was Friday night, and so it was a Catholic missionary group, right? So Fridays during the Lent season, they don't eat meat.
Yeah.
So they took us to this little restaurant, um, like a little diner type place that had all you can eat catfish buffet. And um, so the restaurant's like it's like a place like that if I was like driving through Tennessee with my family, I probably would not necessarily go to. Right, they have like a Confederate flag outside,
Yeah.
kind of in the middle of nowhere. Right, and so we
Yeah.
go in and when we're eating our catfish, the guy who's refilling the catfish station has like a handgun on his hip, um, and then he comes over at one point and he's like, "You guys aren't going to finish the catfish?" And I'll finish the catfish. And he's like, "You're not big enough to finish it."
Oh
And
my God.
so, and so I go over to catfish, and he was right. There was like 8 slabs of catfish, but I was committed, so I took a couple, and the rest of the people with me they got some, and we started trying to eat it, and I was like talking trash with this guy with the gun on his hip, and yeah, we didn't quite get it, but I tried to make Julian proud,
Yeah.
and
No, I
then
think, oh, go ahead.
you go ahead.
I was gonna say like one thing about Ian is that he'll never turn down food. Um, we went to what was it? Where we went to New York and we had Julian bought like literally like 4 gallons of apple cider. And he made this whole apple cider, like hot apple cider up and put all this stuff in it. And like I had a cup and everyone had a cup and there was like a ridiculous amount more left. And Ian and Julian literally spent like the whole night drinking, trying to finish the cider. I don't even know how many like literally grams of sugar you had, but that was probably one of the funniest things I think I've ever watched. So like one thing about Ian is he's always up for a food challenge.
Yeah, this the fried catfish was it was tough. It's not one that you should try to eat in large quantities. I would say that.
All right. Good to know. I know a lot of reviewers probably are, catfish lovers, and they're looking for catfish food challenges. So that's probably pretty helpful for them to know.
Yeah, but yeah, so I was in the middle of like just like I had lost all joy at this point. I was like just trying to put down as much catfish as possible. And they had a live band playing there in like the back of the restaurant. And some of the people in my group wanted to go up, so we went up and we sang with the band. We sang Wagon Wheel and then
Oh, sick.
Sweet Home Alabama. And yeah, it was really nice. I,
Wow.
yeah, it was like one of those things where it was like a completely foreign thing. Whereas like Confederate flag outside, random restaurant in Tennessee, guys carrying a gun around in the middle of the restaurant. But then by the end of the night, like I just felt so comfortable, and it was like such a positive experience. Um, I don't know. It was just like yeah, one of my favorite things from the whole trip. I would say.
Yeah, I think that just goes to show like like it's hard to judge someone. It's really easy to make preconceived notions about people. But I think deep down most people are
Yeah.
good-hearted. And I think I saw that on my trip as well. You see some like we were like literally in the slum, know, funny experience. Like we went from first day at the beach, we wanted to go to Oleg wanted to go to the local beach, like the close one. And it was a beach for locals, definitely not tourists. We took literally like a barge over to the beach. It like drops you off in like a slum. And um yeah, we walked to the beach and yeah, it was interesting. There was like needles on the ground, guys riding motorcycles up and down. So that was kind of scary. We ended up leaving, and we got like actually chased by like some kid. Uh, so yeah, that was interesting. But like at the same time, we met like these little kids that were like, in the middle of the slum, and they just want to say hi to us, and they were just like really excited to see us. So like, and then also like we went to like one of the markets there and bought some food, and it was just like it was like this nice little market, and like I would never have gone there like by myself, but like it just right time, right place. You went in there and just like this cute little market. And we got snacks and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it just goes to show like it's easy to be scared and like make preconceived notions about people, but like trying things is never bad, and talking to people is never bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so like, well, I guess I would start. Is there like anything else you think from your trip that you want to share? You think that the viewers could take something away from?
Uh, yeah, I'd like to say Costa Rica is awesome. If you ever had the chance to go, go. It's wonderful. People are awesome. Food is great. The nature is amazing. Probably the best nature I've ever been. Lots of bugs though. The bugs are awful. I got attacked by a lot of bugs, so I was kind of upset about that. I'm not a big bug person, so that kind of annoyed me. Um, La Fortuna, really nice town. The volcano is super sick. It's a great place because you have the volcano. There's lakes nearby, and also they have like some rainforest and stuff at the same time. So yeah, definitely check it out. And like also the town's sick. Like we literally got went to like a little market on the side next to a church in like the city square, and it was like an outdoor market. And all they had was like fruit and vegetables, and we got literally like tomatoes and watermelon and mangoes, and it was like the best tomato, best watermelon, best mango I've ever had in my life. So good. Um, See, that was absolutely delicious. And then yeah, I talked about the cloud forest a lot, which is also really cool. Cool experience. Zip lining is awesome. And then yeah, the beach. I mean, everyone goes to Costa Rica for the beach. And the beach was good. Don't get me wrong. And I wish we had more time there and we did more things. But yeah, definitely like, the beach is the beach. But like, doing those like actual experiences in the rainforest is probably some of the most memorable things I think I did. So yeah, overall great trip. And it was just like it was great to immerse myself in a different culture for once. And like, I've been to Europe and I've been to Europe, and that's like one experience. But like going to a country where you actually don't, no one speaks like only. I mean, there's some people speak English, but like a decent amount, especially where we were. A lot of people didn't speak English. Completely different culture than I've ever experienced before. Going to Latin America. So overall, it was great just to get out there and experience some stuff, new stuff. Overall, yeah, great. It was a great trip.
That's awesome. I guess I'll have to add Costa Rica to the bucket list. Sounds like a great place to visit.
Yeah, you should have came. I invited you in, but you didn't come. Uh, but it seems like you had a good time. Anything you want to share about, to wrap up your trip? Anything you want to share about?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say like I kind of phrase it at the beginning as a service trip, and that's kind of how it's contextualized. But I would say that I took way more away than I gave. I mean, the people I met were just so forthcoming with their stories and with their experiences. Um, the people I worked with, be it those from Notre Dame or those who work for Glen Mary, the missionary organization, like they were great, and I learned a ton from them. Um, and yeah, I really just feel like we kind of already talked about it, but I think one of the biggest things that I took away from this week was like somebody's life experiences are always going to shape their story and their beliefs and their values. Um, and it's really difficult to understand somebody and where they come from until you
Yeah.
can understand those experiences. And
Mhm.
there's really no substitute for actually, talking to people, trying to experience where they're coming from. And I just think that that goes a huge way towards starting to, understand and build connection and relationships with others. Um, so I mean, yeah, I mean, I feel like it sounds like the same thing for you with Costa Rica, where it's like you could talk about this all day long. But yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that was probably the biggest thing for me. Just great experience overall. Really beautiful. I didn't even talk about like the nature itself was really beautiful. Beautiful weather. Yeah, it was just a great experience overall.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, there's a lot I could talk hours about my trip and go and all the stories I could share. But yeah, overall, like just getting to see a new culture, getting to meet new people and see those like it's really eye-opening. And I think that's one of the reasons why like traveling, seeing new parts of the world and getting out there is a really important thing to do, especially when you're young. And yes, overall, great trip. And it sounds like you had a great time uh in Appalachia. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, getting out there and traveling while you're young, like you said, super important. I think just going outside in general, a lot of research behind that. I know
Yeah.
you and I were talking about an article earlier. Going outside improves cognitive, mental abilities. It can improve physical wellness, mental health. Like just being outside, in whatever capacity, whatever that looks like, just super important overall.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we both read this review article about the benefits of going outside. And, one of the things we both did over this trip is spend a lot of time outside. And it's really easy, especially in college, to be locked up inside, um, do work in the library, whatever. But like going outside is one of the best things you can do for yourself. And getting sunlight and just experiencing nature is awesome. Like I think the article talks about a couple things. Like it talks about how just going out in nature, like you can become more focused, be more creative. Helps boost there's research showing that it boosts your reasoning abilities. And it's also good because it like, can reduce your like sensory overload, kind of give you a reset mentally. Um, help you prevent like mental fatigue and overall just relax. And like, yeah, like I don't know if you saw the article, Ian, but like also like on top of that, there's also like on top of the mental benefits, there's also a lot of like physical benefits as well, just from
Yeah,
going outside and get sunlight.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I think a couple looking at my notes, a couple things it talks about is just how like, going outside it promotes physical activity. Just going for a walk every day. I saw a couple articles, not from this article, but just going for like an hour-long walk every day was like the same amount. Like it helped uh improve depression in people as the same as taking like a well-known pill, you know? So
Yeah,
it's like that just shows how important going outside and like going out and walking, getting sunlight is, your ability to improve your mental health like significantly just by doing a simple thing. And you don't even have to take any pills or chemicals for that. Also, like I said, it lowers stress and this can help with, being outdoors helps reduce cortisol, which is like the stress hormone. It can help you like it's just good for heart, like your heart and blood pressure and all of that. Also, like additionally, like going outside, obviously vitamin D is a big thing. So yeah, like especially in the winter, it's people lack vitamin D and that can cause issues. But getting outside, getting natural vitamin D, getting sun on your skin is one of the best things you can do. Um, well, like for me, I think I got too much vitamin D. I'm really burnt right now and a lot of pain. So I definitely took that a little too extreme.
right.
But yeah, no, but overall, yeah, just getting outside was great.
Yeah. Our WebEx is about to end, so we're gonna quickly hop off, and then we'll be back to wrap things up. So make sure to join us for part two. Should be short but sweet.
Perfect.
Mm-mm.